There are a couple of different strategies for using multis with Philharmonic, and we're going to look at that in this video. Now, I've elaborated on the arrangement I started last time, and I have the violins on this first instrument. Second is bassoons, and they're all in their own individual instance of Philharmonic. Third is French horns, and fourth is flute. So 4 separate instances right now, each playing only one section sound. And here's a little arrangement. I've extended it a bit. You can hear it and see it in the score here. Now, I want to start flushing it out and doubling and adding things. Now, for example, on the violins, the first one here, maybe I want to have oboe double that. So what I can do is create a multi for this. I can, of course, continue working as I am and have several single instance versions of Miroslav where they're each playing one sound and populate my arrangement with that. And that's a perfectly fine way of working. And I actually prefer that. It allocates CPU resources nicely and we can mix in the DAW. But let's look at some ways of incorporating multis here. So on the second part, with the second one selected, I'm going to burrow down into woodwinds, ensembles, and oboes. So I'm going to double click there to load the key switch version in. Now, the problem we may encounter is that the key switches may or may not be the same as violins. So for example, if I click here, we'll see we have sustain and portamento, etc. And for the violins, we have détaché. So it's a different set of articulations, and it's triggering the same region with the same key switch notes. Now, in this case, I've checked it out in advance, and it kind of sort of works, and we're lucky in that it works. And when it doesn't, we need to approach it differently. But let's listen to this for now. So I switched this to the same MIDI channel, and I'll solo this, and we can hear both parts now being doubled by virtue of this region being played and triggering both of these sounds. So it works. It's triggering different portato lengths, and it works with the violins, but we got lucky. Now let's look at the bassoon part. Let's say I want to do the same thing here. I'm going to double this maybe with trombones. So let's go into the brass section over here. I'm going to go to ensembles, trombones, and I'll load in the key switch version in the second instance. Now here we're going to have the same thing. We're going to have this one region triggering the both sounds, and we have our key switch notes here. And I'll call up the palette and we can see what they are, and let's listen. And I'll solo this one. So that's not working. I want it triggering the staccato articulation. So in this case, we need to separate them out. So let's put this back to MIDI channel 2. And I'll just hide that for a moment and hide the score. And I'm going to create another track pointing to the same instrument. So let's set this now to MIDI channel 1. And there we see the little 1 in brackets. And again, each DAW handles this somewhat uniquely, although it's similar principles in each one. And I want to go new track with the next MIDI channel. So now I have 2, and I can drag this down here. And now this will be sent out on MIDI channel 2. And that'll correspond with this. And I can now alter my key switch notes that I have here and have them fit the trombone sound that I want. So let me do that and I'll be right back. I've renamed the duplicated region trombones and the additional track trombones, and here it is. And if we look in the graphic editor, I've arranged the key switch notes so that they're triggering the articulations I want, but we still have another problem. Let me play it for you, and here it is with these trombones soloed. It's triggering the staccato samples, but the release envelope is so short in the sound that these short length notes that worked for the bassoons aren't working for this. So I'm going to show you another DAW function that's useful when we're doing this type of programming. Let me just select these notes, and I'm going to go into the next batch of notes as well. With all of these selected, I'm going to go under the trim function, and there's a note force legato. And again, this is a common DAW function where it extends the note length up till the next note on event. This way it'll be a longer envelope for each note, and the staccato articulation can play out more naturally. And here's what it sounds like now. All right, it's sounding more natural in terms of the length, but I want to lower the velocities so that they're triggering different articulation velocity level. All right, I want to lower the velocities on these as well. So that's working nicely, and I'll lower those a little bit too. And here it is together with the two of them. So that's one interesting way of using a multi, to have the same part, when it's being doubled, playing through the same instance of Miroslav, and we can balance the levels between the two here. Maybe I want the trombones a bit quieter, maybe I want to pan them. I can handle all that from over here. And now that we've got some of these multis set up, we can save them. Now the save functions over here, the file management functions here, are slightly different on the instrument and multi-page. Right now this is for saving instruments, but I haven't really altered the instruments. So I want to go to the multi tab over here, and now we can actually save the multi. So I can call this whatever I want, but let's name it. And this is the multis, or these are the multis rather, that ship with Miroslav. So let me create a new folder here, and I'll call them EK multis, and I'll call this one low end. So now I've got that, and if I look in my multi menu over here, here we can see EK multis, and there's the EK multi low end. And let me go back to the violin one now, and there's that new multi, and let's save this one as well. And I'm going to go save, and I can, again, go to my EK multi, and I'll name it. And now I'm creating a palette of multis that I can use and recall in other projects. Maybe I'm working on film cues, and I want these same instrumentation groups available to me to recall. So I like that personal strategy of how to use multis to create layers and doubles that you like. Another strategy, if you're playing live, is just create a whole orchestra up on the 16 parts, but this is the way we're working for now. So with that done, let's explore the French horn part now. Here's what it sounds like as is. And let's layer this one. I've set this up on a separate MIDI channel, done the same thing here, created a new track pointing to the same multi-timbral instrument, and on channel 2 I have the cello part, and I trimmed the notes. I hadn't previously trimmed the note ends, there were some overlaps. So here it is, and it blends nicely now with the French horns. I've changed some of the articulations, you can see them here on the cello part, and I've panned them and offset the volume a bit to get a nice blend. So that works nicely, and I can now save yet another multi and build up my palette as I want it. And now we have a collection of 3 multis so far. Now that's one strategy. Another thing we can do is create velocity layers in these, where when we hit harder, certain sounds are triggered by adjusting velocity ranges here. And we'll look at that separately in another video, but for now this is sort of a first step in how to approach building multis. See you for more in the next video.